Hi, I'm Angelica.
I'm Gaia.
Today we're speaking to David, founder of Swiss watch brand Olivier Meylan.
Hi, David.
Hi, nice to meet you both.
So tell us a bit more about your brand.
I launched it in 2020, between 2020 and 2021, around the pandemic time. So we've got a lot of Swiss heritage in my family name. Big fan of watches. Always been kind of, a bit of a collector and quite passionate about watches, but it's not been the industry that I've worked in. Yeah, I decided it was time to launch my own brand, and then the pandemic seemed like the perfect and hardest time to do it, but it freed up time that I didn't have before. So my background is events and hospitality and festivals and stuff like that. Yeah, obviously the pandemic kind of shut that side of things down and kind of gave me some time to put the energy into this kind of idea that I had in the back of my head for such a long time. Wind the clock forward a few years, kind of got it launched, took a bit of a gamble, took a risk, got it started, and 5 years later we're still here, which is good. Yeah.
So we saw on your Instagram the Swiss watches made in the UK.
Yeah,
is that
trying
right?
to do as much in the UK as we can. Trying to, and this is part of what this event tomorrow is about, which is British Watchmakers Day. So this will be our third year doing it, but the British watchmaking industry is really booming at the moment, and it's great to be a part of that. And we just want to try and bring as much to the UK as possible. So assembly and things like that. At the moment, we're doing a lot more in Switzerland. Obviously, we're based in the UK. We design everything here, and I'm half Swiss, half English, so it's kind of a nice mixture of the two. So the heritage is Swiss. We use Swiss parts or Swiss movements.
So this is interesting because I think the concept of Swiss watches is widely recognized, but what does that actually mean? So it's the actual parts, the mechanics of it?
Mainly the movement is the important part. The movement is the kind of the intricacy and what is made in Switzerland. I mean, obviously there's some great Japanese movements and Chinese movements, but Swiss movements are kind of the forefront of watches, really.
So when you said
watches.
the British watchmaking market is like booming, well, why do you think that is?
I think we've kind of took part in the movement of it, perhaps unintentionally, but the British Watchmaking Alliance was formed 3 years ago, and we were lucky enough to kind of just connect with them and join the alliance. And then they did their inaugural event, the first event 3 years ago, and it just blew up. I think a lot of watch enthusiasts, British watch collectors, would like to buy a watch that's, designed or made in England, or, certainly have a connection to Great Britain, like it did many years ago. And we lost that a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it's suddenly kind of coming back, and a lot of the other UK brands are starting to, assemble them in the UK, design them in the UK. Some of them are making them fully in-house in the UK, not as many, but slowly but surely it's bouncing back.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely speaks to a larger movement happening in British craft makership as well.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole thing on, buying locally, manufacturing things within the UK, speaking to British skill sets.
Yeah.
So I guess it's part of that wider trend as well.
Yeah, because I'm half Swiss and I've got good Swiss heritage in the watchmaking world. My grandfather was a Swiss, watchmaker for JLC and whatever else. I felt that that's all I should harp on about. That's what people or watch enthusiasts were interested in, the fact that it's a genuine Swiss heritage watch. But actually what I found was that I was getting more interest locally from the fact that we were a British brand, even more so locally, like in Exeter where we're based. As soon as the story kind of started to spread in Exeter, and we did quite well with like local rugby teams and whatever else, actually there was more demand for the fact that we were local. So
People want to buy British.
Yeah, and I'm still really proud of the Swiss part of the brand, but I also really want to, encourage the British side. So I want to get to the point where we are like a very nice 50-50. Perhaps, we use Swiss parts, but we assemble them in the UK. Obviously, we're based in the UK, we design them here. But then we've got the Swiss heritage that kind of backs the product.
Obviously, as you've said, storytelling is a big part in watchmaking and for many commercial B2C brands. How do you communicate that through your advertising campaigns and through the general company comms? How do you express that?
Slowly learning that as I go. Marketing is kind of my background in terms of events, the events industry. And the same way that I would develop or create an event and sell it and publicize it and market it. It's kind of the same model that I had with the watches. Obviously, the watch is a product and it's an important part of it, but equally, the marketing behind it, creating the hype and scarcity and all that, a bit like when you're trying to get tickets for an event and they run out really quickly. Kind of trying to do the same thing in the watch world, and that's kind of how I started doing it, just kind of creating cool content and getting it out to the world, and then creating products that go along with it that are perhaps hard to get hold of, or limited edition, or low serial numbers. Like these ones are all kind of, limited. We don't do mass volume at this stage.
So scarcity is a big part of it, you would say, for...
Yeah, I think we're still working on that. It's not easy to create that and make a really profitable business.
Yeah.
It's quite, if you limit yourself, which we've done with quite a few of our collections, which is awesome for the consumer. But, ultimately, if they sell really well and you've capped yourself at 100 watches, then, you have to then bring out a whole new watch collection. So we're trying to master that as we go along. But at the moment, it's working well because we're a smaller, independent micro brand. I'm competing against, some mega brands. So we have to do something to make the average consumer enticed to buy one of ours. So why not have, one of 100 that's you've met the designer, or it's based in the UK where you're based. There's all those connections to it.
How far does the customization aspect factor in your production? So to what extent will you fully customize a watch for a client? Have you ever done that?
We obviously design it from scratch, and then what we try and do is we try and get feedback and input from all of our customers, and what do you want to see in a watch, and we try and implement that into each one. And customization really kind of we have done some really cool collaborations with artists, funnily enough. 3 different arts collabs that have been really successful, and again, that's something that we want to maybe do more of. We've had taken the watch apart, reassembled it in the UK, but had the dial hand painted by an artist or local artist in the UK. To make it more unique and rare, so they're numbered, and you get the kind of you buy a piece of art, but you're buying a watch. And so we've done a lot of that.
I think it'd be interesting to speak about your positioning as a brand, because we went onto your website and we saw it retails for a few hundred. Where would you position it? Is it luxury? Is it mid-market? What is it?
It would be entry-level luxury.
Luxury.
So our sort of price point at the moment is about, I think our kind of entry-level watch is about £300 up to about 2,500. Realistically, the material, the quality of the product that we're making now is, we've kind of grown over the years a lot, to the point where we are making quite serious quality watches. But obviously, we're being a smaller brand, we take less of a margin, and you're getting more watch for the money. The new one is fully titanium, high-end Swiss automatic movement. We're using all the same materials and parts as a watch that would be about £4,000.
What makes up the qualities of it being a super luxury product?
Well, when you go down the super luxury road, where it's kind of like your 70 grand watch, it's all in-house. So that's when every single part of the watch, including the movement, is made in-house. Entry-level luxury, don't want to name any brands and offend them, but I'm just trying to think. If you went to Goldsmiths and bought a Tudor or a Breitling, or a £1,000 to £3,000 or £4,000 watch, they sometimes do in-house movements, but often they'll use an off-the-shelf automatic Swiss movement, like an ETA or a Solita, and those make it kind of more accessible and affordable. But it's still a hell of a movement. It's just not. It's a bit off the shelf.
Sorry, by in-house, do you mean handmade rather than made in a factory, or what does that actually mean?
In-house is so they'll physically, in this room, we could sit and make one piece, one watch, and you'll be making every part of the movement. So the movement has thousands of parts. Yeah. Whereas obviously a factory will produce those movements quicker. And perhaps a little less complicated, and the more complications, the harder it is to make, and you're talking serious craftsmanship. And those movements and watches that are made in-house obviously go for a lot more, and they make less of them, but you're talking serious price level. So we're trying to kind of have that affordable luxury, accessible luxury, where you still get a Swiss heritage and story, but a British brand, and a well-made watch with good materials, but it's just accessible. It means that you can go and buy one for 1,500 quid, or a quartz version for £400-500. Still have a fashionable, good quality timepiece, but without spending 30, 40, 50, 60,000.
Is your plan as the business grows to move up into the slightly higher price bracket, or is there a specific business case or maybe an ideology that made you want to hit that specific price range?
I think we've naturally, gradually got to that point, and I think that was purely based on funds. So when I had the idea, I had to start from somewhere, and at that point, I don't know if you remember the Daniel Wellington craze of watches. So that was they were like the first kind of, not the first, but they were like just a fashion watch. We're not talking luxury here. They launched that in the gold rush era of social media marketing and influencer marketing. So it was cheap watch to make, sell it for a couple hundred quid, and get as many influencers wearing it as possible and get them to tag it on social media. And it worked, and that sold watches. It sells watches for 200 or 300 quid. That bubble kind of burst a little bit, though, because obviously that gold rush era of social media marketing and influencing is not quite what it was. But also, that's a certain market and a certain watch. That's a fashion watch. It looks cool. You could wear it out tonight and it's just like a nice looking watch. And then you have like the luxury watches where it's more about the materials, how it's made, what movements are in there. So we probably started off a little bit fashion watchy just so that we could get some watches with our brand on it to create a brand, and then have started to go up the luxury road, which naturally will progress. But yeah, I don't think our plan necessarily is to make 70 grand watches. I guess, I wouldn't rule it out. Maybe one day there'll be demand and maybe we could do it. Hopefully one day we'll be making our own watches in-house, and that might be an option. Right now, for me, it's about the brand. It's about creating the brand.
And how are you going to communicate your brand? What are your, bar it being Swiss heritage and being made in the UK, what other values are you putting out there, and what are your methods for putting it out there?
Where I launched the brand, one of the ideas behind it was that working in the events and sort of with artists and whatever else, I worked with quite a few sort of big name people in the sort of entertainment world, reality stars and stuff like that, doing events. And I found that, my contact list was pretty good. And then I started working with some bigger name people, and the offers changed. So for example, I was working with Snoop Dogg, who I'm a big fan of, but it was like a dream to work with him. So years trying to sort of tap into that industry and work with them. So we did some shows in the UK, and I was kind of involved in trying to generate some shows, some sort of after parties and stuff like that for him. The offers that I had coming in, because I was like maybe a point of contact, or people knew I had a contact, were for product placement, for endorsements, for Instagram advertising, everything from like teeth whitening to hats to t-shirts to whatever. So the idea was I was supposed to be getting shows for him, but I was just getting offers for product. So I thought, imagine if I had a product. If I've got these kind of contacts, I should have my own product, where, with my name on it. That's kind of where the idea came from. And then obviously being a fan of watches, I felt like that would be a great product, and I'll see if it's doable. Did some serious research and took a gamble, got my name, got the brand, created a brand, got it on a watch, more entry-level watch, and then try to get it into the hands of those people. That's kind of the route to our market, I guess, is having the right customer base, because then it kind of like, it's a good influence without influencing, if that makes sense. We don't want to necessarily use it as like them tagging it and promoting it and doing discount codes, but it's just like that's who wears our watches, and naturally it's like a word of mouth thing. Yeah, it's been quite difficult though. It wasn't as easy as I thought. Obviously I have a lot of contacts. I thought, right, actually I'll call up some people and be like, look, I've launched a watch brand, can I send you a watch? And it's surprising how complicated it is. And I've got some friends who, on like reality shows like Made in Chelsea, who I've known for years. For them it's kind of complicated because they can't, if they wear my product and tag it and put it on Instagram, then they kind of rule out the opportunity for them to get paid by another watch brand or another similar brand who will pay them for that service. So then it's like, it's not as easy as I thought, just, sending someone a product. It's being more tactical, just slowly working on people. And now it's got to the point, thankfully, that, we've actually had some great customers who are already big names who actually just love what we've done and they want to own a watch, and then great, we'll do them a deal, but like they're buying it, they're invested in it, they like the product, and naturally it will be seen that they're wearing it. We're just not kind of endorsing it.
Yeah, that's the best kind of influencing, when they naturally come by the product and they use it. And
they want to wear it. Yeah.
Have you ever had people reaching out to you directly before you reached out to them asking them?
Some well-known people in the industry that are into watches who have stumbled across our brand and got in touch, we've had conversations. Some of them have been completely organic. Some of them have been, a little bit, I might have prompted it and said, look, I know you're into watches, would love to share the brand with you. One of them was Russell Kane, the comedian. Shout out to Russell Kane. It's like a bit of a legend, really.
Shout out.
He's a big watch fan. He knows a lot about watches. And I read somewhere that he, I think he maybe used to trade, buy and sell watches. I don't know. I know he collected them. I just, tried my chances, DM'd him and said, look, I know you're into your watches. I'd like to tell you a bit about the brand. Thinking he probably won't see it or reply, but he did. And he said, oh, I'll have a look. And he did have a look, but he was very honest and said, I'm a bit of a watch nerd, and I'm into mechanical automatic watches, not quartz. So the first release of watches that I did were quartz. That's how our entry level, how we started financially. And I just made a note of that, and I said, look, we will bring out an automatic, a Swiss automatic eventually. Just keep an eye on us. Wind the clock forward, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. I'm trying to think how long it was between. But our first automatic watch came out, and Russell saw the Instagram reel to announce the watch, and straight away he's like, love this, how much is it? Like, so he was a man of his word. I really respect him for that. I think his wife actually bought it for him for birthday or Christmas or something.
That's
so like massive support there. And then he went on to reviewing it on his social media just because he was a fan of the watch. That's what I'm about. Those stories are kind of like why I created it. Completely
organic. It's just so interesting because watches, it's one of those things where it's one of those collectible items where some people, just the amount of knowledge and the level of detail they go into is just, it's really fascinating. Do you find that, seeing as you do have Swiss heritage and your grandfather was in the business, what would you say are the main things that have changed throughout the last 20, 30 years that have made the biggest difference in how the business operates?
As in the watch
industry, yeah.
I don't know. I think the watch industry is very, it's quite a secretive industry. It's quite hard to really get to the bottom of, if you look at like the Rolex boom, there's this huge kind of hype around buying Rolexes at the moment. And I get it, you're making a return on your investment. But I feel like Rolex has always been a bit like that. Everyone wants to own one. It's the same with Audemars Piguet. I'm a huge fan of them. So there's a family connection somewhere between me and them. It's probably very distant. It's a very complicated family tree. It's very intertwined in the Vallée du Joux in Switzerland, which is, there's a lot of Meylans and in the watch world. And then my great grandmother was a Audemars, and my great grandmother was a Piguet. So there's like a connection through marriage on those sides. But I remember as a kid, my dad taking me to some of the sort of the watch factories in that area, and like you couldn't really get much info. It's all very secretive, discreet. It's
very Swiss.
But yeah, I think so.
Very Swiss.
I mean, I remember like going to the Audemars Piguet kind of main factory. You can't get near it. It's like you can go and sort of look in the front. Yeah, the security's there. I don't think you're allowed to take pictures unless you book in an appointment to see their museum. I think it's probably very similar. I think it's just kind of, there's obviously been a lot of watches come and go over the years, but generally like those core brands have kind of sort of rode the test of time, I guess.
So David, what are your plans for scaling?
At the moment we're quite enjoying doing this kind of, step by step. At the moment I quite like the fact there's no pressure on the brand. It's still 100% me. It's independent. We have no sort of major borrowing or anything, and it's kind of very much a case of, the money I've initially invested is we're rolling that over, trying to multiply each time we do a collection. At some point we're going to need to scale, and I think we'll need to look at investment. I've had a few conversations, with a few investors that it may be the way forward for us to really take it to the next level, because obviously it's a very expensive industry. So, marketing, advertising, new collections. Every time I do a new collection, it's a risk. I think, we are looking at a possible investment route at some point in the near future. But at the moment, I'm just kind of enjoying releasing cool watches, getting cool people to wear them, Yeah.
How many
Amazing.
people are involved in that? How big is your team right
At the
now?
moment, it's very small. It's kind of 3 of us.
3.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you have a co-founder? No.
No, just me.
You
Okay.
design them?
Yeah.
Cool.
I often collaborate with, say we do a collaboration on a particular watch, and they will help design the watch. So Josh Hodge, for example, he's a friend of mine and plays for Exeter Chiefs, rugby player, and England as well. Yeah, we did a watch together that he helped design. So quite often like to involve people, to release a watch. But ultimately, a lot of the ideas just come from me. Just make it up as I go along.
Yeah. What inspires you?
I don't know, just I guess looking at current trends, and then like I've got my little boy kind of gave me an idea about like space themes and stuff. So this is the new GM19 Titan moon. So it's based on the Titan
Cool.
moon,
Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
he had a picture on his wall.
Yeah.
And I was like, that could be quite a cool idea for a watch dial, and then we've kind of gone from there. So
That's a huge theme in watches, legacy and passing with like Patek
Yeah.
Philippe and all passing the watch on to
Yes.
your kids, and
yeah.
that could be a whole theme to explore.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the GM19 collection is kind of very astrology kind of space
So cool.
inspired, and it's named. So Olivier Meylan, the brand is actually named after my eldest son. So it's not actually
Beautiful.
named after me or my grandfather, but obviously it's our surname. And it was before my youngest son was born. So now he's on the scene. The GM19 collection is named after him, so he's George.
That's
Meylan.
cool.
So
That's
a lot of people don't know
beautiful.
that actually, but the GM19 collection is all. So he was born in 2019, and GM is his initial. So
It's a lovely story.
it's keeping it all in the family, trying to create a legacy.
Is that what your goal is? You want to make a legacy?
Yeah, I think so. Just leave something behind that hopefully they can continue. And if I haven't made it to where it needs to get to, maybe they can do that. But I've certainly kind of got the ball rolling for them, and I'm gonna keep trying.
You slowly training them. Do you see some interest on their end already?
The-
How old are they?
Like you have no option.
Yeah, 6 and 9.
Okay, maybe a bit soon. A bit
No,
soon.
he's
Not
wearing,
around.
he wears the cap to school. He's been
That's your
selling them to his
project.
friends with like the OM branding and
No
stuff. So
way.
he gets
There
it.
you, you're a salesman.
yeah.
He can be your first hire.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're definitely keen and interested, but they'll have their own paths and stuff. But they may well be interested in it as they get older. So yeah, yeah.
It's a beautiful
Well,
note to
David,
end on.
thank you so much.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you
me
so
on.
much.
It's been great.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's great to meet you both.